Okay, welcome to lecture number 2, and in this lecture I will tell you how to use CSS with the HTML. So how can we use CSS with HTML? Okay, you can add CSS with HTML in three ways: inline, internal or external. In the inline process you have to add style attributes inside the h1, as you can see here. Inside the h1 tag you can add the style attribute. So this is one way of doing it, and internal is the another way of adding CSS in the HTML. And in this way you have to add a style tag, and between these style tag you have to define the color red, background color white, or alignment, or whatever you want. So this is the another way of doing this. And the third way of adding a CSS in HTML is to create a one proper file with .css extension in a CSS folder and link that CSS file to your HTML file. So your all designing work and CSS work will go to that .css extension file. So first way is not recommended and not done by the professional programmers. Second, internal way is also not recommended for the programmers to do this kind of CSS styling for the HTML documents. And the best way of doing this in a professional way is the external linking and external CSS in your HTML file. I will show you all these three ways of doing it, but remember the external is the only proper way of doing it. Don't try inline and internal, and always practice external, and this is the best way. Okay, so how CSS tags are written. CSS tag start with the selector like h1 tags. Like you have to select a h1 tag. These are known as selector, like h1, paragraph, body. These are, when you select them in the CSS, these are known as a selector. Then we have a declaration start and property. Property is you have to define like a font size, background color, front color, padding or margin, whatever. So we have to close that with the property value separator, double colon, and after that you have to put a value. We have to put a value like a property is color, so value should be black, white. Or when you define a property, then you have to give it a value like, if you selected a property font size, so value should be 45 pixel, 10 pixel, and anything like that. And if the property is color, the value should be black, blue, brown, gray, whatever. After that, declaration separator, like if you want to add multiple properties, so then you can use the declaration separator. You end your value with the declaration separator. And after the declaration separator, remember you have started a declaration start. So in the end, declaration end, and always there will be a declaration start and declaration end. Between them you have to put a property and value and experiment with them and practice it. So I will show you practical with this how to use it in a code editor. So open your code editor and I will show you how this works. Okay, go to your desktop, create a new folder, name it CSS introduction. Inside that folder, create a file, create one more folder, name it CSS, and open this in your code editor. Now we are in our code editor, and create a new file, save it with the index.html, create a basic HTML documentation. And if you don't know about these HTML tags, please go back to my previous lecture and complete the HTML codes, because in this I will not teach you HTML, I will just fastly go with the CSS. Okay, suppose we have a h1 tag, u tag, and let me open it in the browser also. Okay, now so my editor and browser are both in front of you. Okay, so first way of doing inline CSS is linking inside your h1 attributes or HTML tag. So how can we do it? Style tag here, and inside the style put color, and here like type blue. Save and refresh your browser, and you can see it's now blue. This is the one way of doing this, which is not recommended. Okay, so what is the second way that I told you? Internal. In internal, create a style tag here. Inside the style tag, like we have to select h1, so selector is h1. This is selector. Declaration tag, this is declaration tag. Ending declaration tag, press enter. So type here property, like we need to change a color, so we will select here property like color. After selecting property, what we need a value, and value, let's we say green. After that put the declaration separator like this. Save and refresh your browser. Now you can see it's green. This is how you can use the CSS styling in internal. Now this is also not recommended by professional programmers. So the best way of doing this, create a folder like this CSS, and inside this CSS create a file. Name it anything. I will say style.css, and this is style.css. and now here we don't need a documentation and structure like HTML basic document. Here we directly start with the selector, like we need a h1, declaration tags, property, color, value, pink, declaration separators, save. But this will not work because we have to link this CSS style sheet with the index, so these both will work together. How can we do this? And for doing this, we have a HTML tag link, and in Sublime when you type link and press tab, they will automatically fill everything for you. You just have to define href. Href means the location of the style sheet which we want. So here it's in the CSS folder. After the CSS folder, the file name is style.css. okay, so save it, refresh. Now you can see it's pink. This is the last way of using CSS with HTML, and this is a recommended way and a best practice of doing this. So always use this external style sheet, link it with the HTML, and whatever you want to do it in the style sheet. I will use this way because this is the best way of using style sheet. So first of all, practice this. Do this. If you can do this properly, linking a external style sheet in your HTML, you are good to go. So in the next lecture we will do more CSS.